Sports.
We are Blackmore. We are Wisconsin.
Two down, 160 to go. It is Game 3 of the Major League Baseball season. And tonight it is the Brew Crew hosting the Colorado Rockies. Looking for a Robin Yount inspiration here tonight. The Rockies have won the first two, getting big-time offense. Nolan Arenado has 5 hits already, 5 runs batted in, and the Rockies with 12 doubles in the first 2 games. That sets a modern Major League record for doubles in the first 2 games of a season. Hoping to turn all that around here tonight. Hi, everybody. Brian Anderson, Bill Schroeder. Great to have you with us. Greg Matzik is our reporter tonight. We'll hear from him in just a little bit. Willie Peralta gets the ball tonight, Rock, and here's a guy that acted as the stopper for the Brewers last year. 11 times he won games after a Brewers loss. He's hoping to do the same here tonight.
Well, he turned the corner last year when you consider he's only 25 years old. He's going to turn 26 in the beginning of May, and this is his 4th season. Everybody wondering what the progress for Willie Peralta has been. Well, he's learning how to pitch. He hadn't pitched all that long, but when he just lets it go, it doesn't worry too much about what's going on around him. He's got as good as stuff as anybody in the big league. Certainly, according to Ron Renicky, he's got as good as stuff as anybody on this staff. The fastball, the slider. He worked very hard on a changeup this year in spring training. Let's see how that helps him as he tries to get through this season. 17 wins a year ago.
Well, Peralta is an emerging ace. The Brewers certainly need he and Jimmy Nelson to rise up into the 1 and 2 spot in this rotation if they're going to have sustained success. And those are the numbers from last year. 11 of his 17 wins came after a Brewers loss. Peralta and the Brewers trying to avoid the sweep here tonight. Game 3 of this opening series of the year. We'll check in with Greg when we continue. You're watching the Brewers tonight on Fox Sports Wisconsin.
Milwaukee Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. By Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. And by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. Back here at Miller Park, the Rockies and the Brewers here, game 3 of their series, and Milwaukee trying to avoid the sweep. They put Willie Peralta out on the hill. Craig Kishan, Jerry Augustine back with you here on Fox Sports Wisconsin. We know if you follow the first 2 games, the Rockies hitting the cover off the ball. They're getting extra base hits. Almost anything Brewer starters, especially throwing their way, they're getting their bat on, Augie. Where do you see this happening?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a ball club that led the National League in hitting last year. You had Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, and Arenado to it. They're a very good hitting ball club. You can't make mistakes, and the one thing the Brewer pitching staff is doing, getting the ball up over the plate, and that's really causing a lot of problems for the Brewers. The Rockies figuring the bat very well. When you talk about beating this ball club, it talks about location, and for Willie Peralta tonight, having that great stuff, he's going to have to locate the ball, keep the ball down, and keep it in good locations. 12 doubles already for the Rockies here, and doing the damage, of course, Troy Tulowitzki leading the way. A run, an RBI, or a hit he has had in 5 of the 6 innings they have scored in this 2 games so far in this series, and he's getting a lot of help along the way as well. Brewers and the Rockies, Willie Peralta on the hill. Let's see if they can shut down a hot-hitting offense when we come back to Miller Park for first pitch.
And the Rockies tonight, game 3 of this 3-game series, the first series of the season. And Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Book your stay now. Well, it's 36 degrees outside. It's partly cloudy, a little bit soupy out there, but it's perfect inside Miller Park. The roof is all closed up. Brian Anderson with Bill Schroeder, Greg Matzik, our reporter tonight, and we are delighted to have you with us. Walt Weiss and the hard-hitting Rockies have come to town and done a lot of damage so far in the first 2 games of this series. Rockies winning the opener by a final of 10-0, and then it was a 5-2 win yesterday. Brewers trying to salvage one here. Here is Weiss's lineup, brought to you by Potawatomi. And why change it, right? Blackmon, Gonzalez, Tulowitzki at the top. Originally, Morneau was out of the lineup. Remember, he took a throw into the neck yesterday while sliding back to third base after BP put himself back in. So it's Morneau, Arenado, and Dickerson. Hundley, LeMahieu, and Eddie Butler round out the Colorado nine against right-hander Willie Peralta.
Yeah, terrific year for Willie last year. 32 starts, a 17-11 record, and an earned run average just a little bit over 3.5. Yeah, came into his own last year as a 24-year-old. First start this year.
Charlie Blackmon leads off, and the first pitch is up high, ball one. Away we go from Miller Park. Home plate umpire is C.B. Buckner tonight. Lance Barrett, Dale Scott, Dan Iasonia on the bases. Both of these teams will take tomorrow off. The Rockies are headed home. They have their home opener on Friday against the Chicago Cubs, who beat the Cardinals today. And the Brewers will take tomorrow off before welcoming in the Pittsburgh Pirates. Starts a run of 22 consecutive games in the Central Division on Friday against Pittsburgh. Well, Peralta's got the good fastball going early, already at 95 miles an hour. You know he is pumped up for his first start of the season.
Yeah, he's about as consistent with that velocity as any pitcher in the big leagues from the first inning of his first start until the end of the season. I mean, velocity has never been an issue for him, and knock on wood, he's been able to stay healthy in his first 3 years.
Blackmon into center field. Gomez on the way back with room for out number one.
Yeah, let's check out the Menards defense for the Brewers. Same as yesterday. Davis, Gomez, and Parra. Gerardo Parra in right. Ryan Braun still sitting out with a side injury. Should be back in the lineup on Friday. Ramirez, Segura, Jeanette, and Lynn from third to first, and Jonathan Lucroy behind the plate.
Well, the Brewers trying to tighten up a little defensively and hoping to keep the Rockies down a little bit offensively. Colorado has banged out 28 hits in the first two games of this series, including 12 doubles.
Hitting .350 as a team in the first two games. That's pretty good even for them.
Carlos Gonzalez with 2 RBIs already. Gonzalez hitting second this year. Walt Weiss talking about getting a little more power as the lineup turns around, having more of a threat toward the top of the lineup. Walt in his third year as the skipper of the Rockies. Team that lost 96 games last season, and for a good chunk of the season, Cargo and Tulowitzki were out with injury as he hammers one into right center field. Gomez a long way to go, and Carlos Gonzalez with yet another double for the Colorado Rockies.
All right, fastball down in the strike zone. Gonzalez just hammers it. Yeah, went down and got it, hit a bullet into the gap after Willie threw him a good changeup for a strike. First changeup for Willie, he got a strike call, but then the fastball, check it out, right down the middle and down in the strike zone. That's the wheelhouse for Carlos Gonzalez. He's not going to miss too many of those pitches.
He already has 3 doubles this year, 13 doubles for the Rockies in this series. I mean, you may go weeks at a time without seeing that many doubles as an offense. Brewers have not been able to figure out this group yet. First pitch breaking ball misses to Troy Tulowitzki.
Yeah, most of the base hits that they've got, the doubles, any of the hits, they've been pitches that have been getting a lot of home plate. I mean, the Brewers have been making some mistakes to this Rockies club. And you don't want to do that to this group. These guys can bang.
Tulowitzki's driven in 2. He is 5 for 10 at the plate. Tulowitzki has 3 doubles already, has 8 total bases already, continues to destroy Brewer pitching. A .412 career batting average in 44 games against Milwaukee. Tulowitzki had hip surgery last year, played in just 91 games.
And he's been on just about everything too, just like the rest of this Rocky lineup. Now, fastballs, breaking pitches, seems like they're right on them, as though they know they're coming.
Yeah, that was actually brought up last night. I believe Matt Garza felt that the Rockies had some sense of what he was throwing, whether he was tipping pitches or whether they were getting signs. You don't know. I mean, one of the things about 13 doubles at this point, there are a lot of base runners at second base peering in. So the Brewers trying to pay a little more attention to that here today and see if there's anything that they're giving away. And they ask if he went. Yes, he did, says the base umpire. That is Lance Barrett. Tulowitzki fired his bat away, and it's 3-2. You be the judge.
Good breaking ball. Yep, looked like he went. Tulowitzki trying to sell it, and Lance Barrett rings it up.
Pushes it to a full count for Peralta. This lineup is a lot more than Tulowitzki and Gonzalez and Morneau. Those are the heavy hitters, the players with long major league pedigrees. They've got a lot more than just those three. They have a lot of talent in their lineup throughout. A lot of the young prospects that have come up to the big leagues and have had success right away. A lazy pop-up had Tulowitzki out in front, and from what looked like a walk to a pop-up for the second out.
Yeah, good job by Willie. He got down in the count 3-1. A curveball, and that looked like a changeup here. That was a slider. So Willie able to get Tulowitzki out in front and get him on a weak pop-up. Well, good job. He's just not a thrower anymore. He knows how to pitch. Still learning how to pitch. Only 25 years old.
He'll turn 26 on May 8th. Peralta, homegrown, brought up in the Brewers minor league system. High expectations for him coming up. And he is a big guy. He goes 6'1" and 245. He is stout. He is strong. And hoping to have another building block season this season.
Yeah, hasn't missed a start for the Brewers. Back-to-back years with 32 starts.
He's under the Brewers' control for a while. He is arbitration eligible for the first time next year, but won't be a free agent until 2019. So the Brewers have him under control through the 2018 season. But Rock, you would imagine if he continues to have success like this, the Brewers are going to want to try to sign him to some kind of long-term deal that buys out a couple of those years.
Yeah, they want to mess around with that free agent year. Yeah, sign him a long-term contract. The Brewers have set that precedent. And particularly not just a guy with 17 wins last year, but a guy that takes the baseball every fifth day.
Last 2 years, he has made 32 starts. He's started every fifth day in the last 2 years. Justin Morneau swings 3-0. Fly ball left field, slicing, and it is out of reach for Chris Davis.
Man, that'd have been nice to have that ball stay in play. Morneau, one of the guys that has had good success against Willie Peralta. 6 for 11 is Morneau against Peralta in his career. Not too bad.
And Morneau has always been a great hitter at Miller Park. Hitting over 300 in his career, a .309 hitter in 33 games at Miller Park. And he hits that one into left. Little lazy fly ball for Davis, and Peralta puts up a 0. He does give up a double to Cargo, but gets through the inning. Brewers are coming up. hope you've found the Fox Sports Wisconsin alternate channel tonight with the Bucks in progress. There's Ron Renicky, year 5, and hoping to get his ball club turned around. Has not been a good start for the Brewers with back-to-back losses. And he's got Carlos Gomez back in the leadoff spot. Our lineup brought to you by Potawatomi. Gomez, Lucroy, and Adam Lind. No Ryan Braun again tonight. Still an injury to his side, so he is hoping to return on Friday. Ramirez, Davis, and Parra go in the middle, and Renicky's got Segura, Jeanette, and Peralta rounding it out against a power sinker ball pitcher, Eddie Butler.
Yeah, two guys, very similar styles, Butler and Peralta. Butler's 6'2", 180 pounds. Made 3 appearances last year with the Rockies, was 1-1 with a 675 earned run average, but spent most of last year in Double-A, where he was 6-9 with a 358 earned run average. That was in 18 starts.
He's had some shoulder problems his first couple of years in the big leagues. Made his major league debut last season. He is 23 years of age, out of Virginia. Played his college ball in Radford, Virginia, at Radford University in the Big South Conference. Now Gomez with a 23 homer season last year. He led the Brewers in home runs in 2014. Oh, the pyro goes off right in mid pitch. Yikes.
Well, maybe they know something out there. Maybe Carlos going to get a hold of one, huh?
Gomez, he hit the eject button out of the batter's box. That's got to be slightly unnerving for a hitter.
Hey, you think?
Man,
How about for the pitcher?
hard enough to hit a major league pitcher, much less with pyro going off in the background. Now Gomez has gone on record to say he'd prefer to not hit leadoff, but understands that's where Renicky needs him right now, and he's good with it. He's happy to be in that leadoff spot. He does bring quite a power threat as a leadoff hitter.
He's had a lot of success in the leadoff spot. It's kind of a surprise. I guess everybody would prefer to be, in the middle of an order like the Brewers. Once they get going, going to be men on base in front of them.
3 balls, 1 strike. Gomez takes ball 4. That's a good start. So a terrific base stealer throughout his career, much less the power that he provides. When Gomez gets on to start an inning, that can certainly disrupt things for a pitcher.
Man, he can be a bit wild. Of course, he is young. Young and a lot of movement with that hard sinker. I would imagine it's a little bit difficult to catch.
Well, and here comes Lucroy. Brewers have scored just 2 runs so far in the first 2 games. Both of those runs coming in 1 inning yesterday, a 5-2 loss yesterday. This feels like a club that's going to hit a bunch if they stay healthy, going to hit a ton of home runs. They hope to be among the National League leaders in home runs. That's the way they are built. Doug Melvin bringing in Adam Lind from the Blue Jays, and get power threats up and down the lineup for Milwaukee.
And why wouldn't you, hitting at Miller Park half the year? They'll get it going. They can hit. They showed it in spring training. They showed it last year.
Gomez and Segura are the 2 stolen base threats for the Brewers. Gomez stole 34 last year. And Lucroy content to give him a chance to run. Lucroy is ideally suited as a second place hitter for that reason. He's a very good hitter with 2 strikes and a very patient hitter.
And he's going to use right field, a big hole between first and second. Hit behind the runner. Good hit and run guy.
And Lucroy on a hop to Tulowitzki. And it goes 6-4-3, and a double play wipes out the leadoff walk. 2 outs, 1 swing of the bat for Eddie Butler.
Yeah, Rockies led the National League in double plays last year. And turning one, by the way, able to get in on the hands of Jonathan Lucroy there. And little knuckle buster on one hop over to Tulowitzki.
That stat you mentioned, leading the league in double plays, that's always a good news, bad news stat.
A lot of guys on, right?
A lot of traffic. Here's Adam Lind with 2 outs.
But it's unusual for the Rockies because a lot of fly balls at Coors Field. I mean, historically they haven't had too many ground ball pitchers. That's been an adjustment that organization has made. More sinker slider guys trying to get more ground balls.
Kyle Kendrick was the Rockies opening day starter. He's by all means a ground ball pitcher, sinker baller. New to the Rockies this year. Worked 7 shutout on opening day. Jordan Lyles pitched yesterday, got the win. Both of their starters with victories. Lyles went 6, allowing 2 runs, and he is a sinker baller as well. But the guy on the mound here, Eddie Butler, is one of the 2 that the Rockies are excited the most about from their system. And he is one of the first to arrive in the big leagues and made his debut last year. Has great stuff.
Yeah, his sinker gets up there 95, 96 at times. That's the power sinker.
Adam Lind with 4 hits in the series. He's back in the 3 spot in the order tonight with Ryan Braun out of the lineup once again. And Lind hammers it center field. Carlos Gonzalez, or rather Blackman is back, can't get it, and it bounces up and out. That's a grounds rule double. It's the second time in this series Lind has hit one over the head of Charlie Blackman.
He's been impressive in the first 3 games of the series. We saw him all spring. Very quick bat, stays in the hitting zone a long time. That one right down the middle. That one that hit me written all over it, and that's exactly what Lind did. Over the head of Blackman, and one hops over the fence. When he hits him and has that sound, doesn't it? I mean, just good contact right on the sweet spot.
A smooth left-handed swing. Adam Lind with 5 hits already. Off to a great start in his first year with the Brewers. Here's Aramis Ramirez now with 2 away. On the ground to third, the Gold Glover Arenado. And that will retire the side. So the Brewers come up empty, a walk and a double on a big double play. We head to the second, no score. Ryan Anderson, Bill Schroeder, and we welcome in the third member of our team tonight, Greg Matzek, out of the bullpen. Great to have you with us tonight, Greg. We're looking forward to hearing your reporting all night long.
Yeah, I appreciate it, B.A. Thanks for the tie, by the way. I'll give it back after the game. One of the things that Willie Peralta wants to work on this season is getting further into a game, getting to that 7th and 8th inning. Talked to GM Doug Melvin prior to the game, and one of the deals with Peralta is, well, you saw it in the first inning, 2 3-0 counts. Melvin wants Peralta to get ahead of hitters so he can last into the 7th and 8th inning. His stuff doesn't drop off.
Well, and Peralta gets a first pitch swing out of Arenado, 1 pitch and 1 out. And I think every pitcher, Rock, wants to be able to go deep into a game. The Brewers have a goal of 1,000 innings from their starting pitching. Rick Kranitz makes it a point. If we get 1,000 innings out of our starters, that's 200 innings apiece for your 5 starters. They're going to go to the postseason.
And that's awfully difficult to do. I don't think that happens all that often. But when you look at guys that try to get early counts, and some pitchers that try and nibble a little bit on the corners. I mean, Willie Peralta has this stuff where I don't think he's trying to nibble. It's just that there are times when he can't repeat his delivery every time, and his pitches move so much that sometimes they move right out of the strike zone. So it's not so much that Willie's trying to be too fine on the corners and not willing to throw the ball over the plate. Sometimes the movement just takes it off the plate.
Pitchers always have a goal in mind to go at least 30 starts and at least 200 innings. That's a lot of work. That means you're relatively healthy. Peralta just came up short last year, to Greg's point about his innings, even though he made 32 starts and essentially made every start of the season that he was available. He finished with 198 plus. So there were games that he didn't get to the 6th, 7th inning. And I think that third pitch will make a big difference for him. A lot of time this spring on that pitch right there, the changeup that comes in the mid to upper 80s, and that puts him about 8 to 10 miles an hour off his fastball, and that's right where you want it to be.
And that's going to be particularly effective early this season because he wasn't throwing that pitch too much last year. Hitters are not going to be aware of that pitch until maybe second time through.
Corey Dickerson, who's off to a fast start this early season, already with 3 hits. He drove in 5 runs through the first 2 games, had 4 RBIs in game 1. Hit the first home run of the season for the Rockies as well, a first inning home run on Monday afternoon, and he rips that one back up the middle. Hard hit balls by the Rockies all series long, and we've had 2 of them in this game already. Well, speaking of Peralta, we continue the theme. Time to look at the T-Mobile game changer. So last year Peralta won 17 games. 11 of those victories came after a Brewers loss. And only Adam Wainwright and Johnny Cueto in the National League had more. Pretty good company on that list.
Yeah, that's a pretty good starting rotation right there, isn't it?
That means he's not only having success, but bearing the burden as well.
And you know what? I don't think it bothers him too much. I mean, maybe early in his career, you know, a couple of years ago, first half, he'd let things kind of get wrapped up in his head a little bit. You know, things don't go all that well. It kind of got to him, and you know, things would get worse, and was having a difficult time minimizing damage and giving up the big inning. You really didn't see that much with him last year. The game, as they like to say, has slowed down for him quite a bit.
Confidence continues to grow. He knows he has great stuff. No balls and a strike on Nick Hundley. Hundley's been swinging the bat well as well. They all have, but Hundley brought in mostly as a defensive catcher, a guy that can handle the pitching staff. He's very good blocking balls and throwing the baseball. Kind of a veteran presence for a young pitching staff, and he's come out and swung the bat well in the first couple of games.
And he and LeMahieu at the bottom of the order yesterday had 5 hits combined. So a lot of damage in the bottom half of the batting order for Colorado.
Hundley was 3 for 4, had a double, hit one off the fence and left, drove in a run as well. Runner takes off. Lucroy's throw to second, right on the bag. Easy as it gets. What a throw by Lucroy.
Well, he's something, isn't he? I mean, Scooter didn't even have to move his glove. That's about as good as it gets. Not much of a lead. Decent jump. He looks in to make sure the ball's not put in play, and he's an easy out at second base. Not an easy throw to pitch the throw on either for Luke. And that one right on the money.
Just a beautiful throw. 2-1 is the count. Hundley lines it foul.
It's all about the feet, quick feet. Get yourself in position. You square yourself up, and Lucroy's throw right over the top. You see the quick feet getting in position. You stay down, and you get good backspin on that baseball right on second base.
Peralta deals a 2-2, and it's chopped foul. Well, you're hoping to see the worm turn a little bit. I think the Rockies, you know, they have played so well in the first 2 games, all facets too. Their pitching has been outstanding. They play great defense. They have 4 Gold Glovers in their defensive unit. Their bullpen's been good. You're hoping to shake them up a little bit, and that caught stealing is a good sign early for Milwaukee.
Got to come down to earth a little bit. They have not committed an error in the first 2 games. Hitting .350 as a team.
Payoff pitch to the catcher Hundley. On the ground, right to Segura. That's right where Peralta wants it. So a caught stealing makes it a nice, easy inning for Willie Peralta. By Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. We are scoreless as we head to the bottom of the second inning. Brewers coming up against right-hander Eddie Butler, just getting his big league career started after making his major league debut last year. His first appearance of his career against Milwaukee. Drafted in 2012 in the major leagues in 2014. He'll turn 24 later this year on June 13th. So his age 24 season.
You see that more and more these days, don't you? Guys get drafted a couple years later. You see them in the major leagues. They're bringing them up young.
Chris Davis will lead off for the Brew Crew. Davis, Parra, and Segura. Again, if you're just picking us up, no Ryan Braun in the lineup tonight. He is available to pinch hit, according to his manager. Braun with a slight pull to his side. MRI was clean though, so it's Brewers feel like they caught it early and then try to buy him another day off with a team off day tomorrow, and most likely you'll see him back in the lineup on Friday. He did take batting practice today.
It makes sense. You know, sit him out, as you mentioned. You give him actually 3 days. Those things have a tendency to linger if you don't catch them early and make sure that it's completely gone.
I think there was some scare there that it was an oblique injury, and those are typically a month on the disabled list to recover from, but that was not the case with Braun. So he plays cheerleader tonight. 2 balls and a strike on Davis. In there, strike 2. So far, Davis is 2 for 8. Making starts in left field in both games. Brewers are carrying 5 outfielders with Braun out of the lineup. Gerardo Parra gets the start in right field. Logan Schaefer is the 5th outfielder in that scenario. Rockies only carry 4 outfielders. Davis takes a ball. Good eye, good take. And he draws a walk here to start the 2nd inning.
Base on balls can be an issue for Butler. You got to be patient with him. Hey, it's Break Madness in the 414 this Friday through Sunday as the Brewers and the Pirates renew their rivalry here at Miller Park. Save up to 50% on tickets, plus enjoy $4 beers, $1 hot dogs and sodas, and $4 nachos all throughout the series. Visit Brewers.com for tickets.
A man on to start the inning. 2nd straight inning that has begun with a walk. Brewers bounced into a double play last inning that wiped out the leadoff walk. Here's Parra. Gerardo making his 2nd consecutive start. That is a luxury to have a player like Gerardo Parra that would be starting in most outfields in the major leagues. He's content with the 4th outfielder role. You might even see him play first base on occasion this season.
He's going to play a lot for sure.
Parra does have a hit. 1 for 6 so far.
You know, the guys call Gerardo Parra a gamer. I mean, I don't think there's anything better you can call a teammate or be called from your teammates as a gamer. That means you always want to be in the lineup regardless. Somewhere, somehow. That's why he told Ron Renneke, I'll be glad to play first base.
Yeah, it took a lot of ground balls at first this year. Never played the position. Actually had to order a first baseman's mitt. Gets jammed. That's on a hop. Arenado, what a play there. Throw to 2nd for the lead out. Boy, these Rockies can really pick it.
Yeah, well, Chris Davis was caught in no man's land. He wasn't sure if that ball was going to be caught in the air. It was caught on a hop, and by the time he took off, a little bit too late. You got to freeze on this line drive. That's what he did. Arenado able to pick a tough hop on the backhand, and a nice play by LeMahieu, acting like a first baseman. Well, that was a nasty cutter right there. Had something on it, got all into the hands of Gerardo Parra.
Now, you could tell by Arenado's throw and his quick release, he wasn't thinking about just getting a lead out. He was trying to get it to 2nd quickly to possibly start a double play. He is the bearer of 2 Gold Gloves in his career. He and Tulowitzki and LeMahieu, all Gold Glove Award winners in the infield, and then the Rockies right fielder Carlos Gonzalez has a couple of Gold Gloves as well. So you know they're going to catch it, and you know the Rockies are going to hit. Question is, how will they pitch this season?
That's a question that Rockies fans ask every year, right? They're going to hit, they're going to score runs, but are they going to be able to keep the other team off the board?
Gene Segura with 1 out. Segura avoided disaster yesterday. He was hit in the helmet. It was a split changeup. It was an 80-mile-an-hour pitch, and fortunately for Segura, it caught him in the brim of the helmet. He said it just grazed his nose. Scary moment here at Miller Park yesterday, but Segura did not leave the game. I think he was on the ground waiting for the pain more than anything, and then realized that it caught more of the helmet than his face. Very fortunate.
Yeah, very. Could have been a lot worse, right? Living good.
Segura with a couple of hits to start the season. Go chopper to third. Arenado will go to second for an out there. So another fielder's choice, 2 outs. Another 5-4 put out for Eddie Butler.
Now let's check out the Rockies defense, brought to you by Menards. Got Dickerson, Blackmon, and Carlos Gonzalez, a Gold Glover in right. Arenado, Tulowitzki, and LeMahieu has some Gold Gloves. Justin Morneau, last year's batting champ at first, and Nick Hundley behind the plate.
2 gone for Scooter Gennett. Just like last night, Renicky flip-flops Gennett and Segura in the lineup to avoid back-to-back left-handed hitters. Parra, the lefty, hitting 6th. So that moves Gennett to the 8th spot in the order. Not an easy place to hit, 8th.
Yeah, got to be patient a lot of times early in the game when you got men on base, men in scoring position. Pitcher's going to try and pitch around you.
You got the pitcher due up next, Peralta. Gennett's #1 goal is to try to get Peralta to the plate here in this second inning. Scooter gets the job full time this year after being in a platoon at second base with Ricky Weeks the last couple of seasons. Had one of the higher batting averages against right-handed pitching in the National League last year. And the big test this year will be, how does he fare against lefties?
Yeah, that'll come to play in that Pirates series. Pirates are scheduled to throw 2 left-handers at the Brewers over the weekend.
Those are the splits from last year for Gennett. Now, he didn't play much against left-handed pitching, so a limited at-bats, but obviously a much better hitter against right-handers last year, and that's been the plan all along, to get Gennett in the mix, especially with Ricky Weeks under contract. Try to put him in a position where he could thrive and get comfortable and confident at the major league level, and he's done that, and so now the job is his. Ricky Weeks is now with the Seattle Mariners.
Yep, and if he scuffles, the Brewers have some guys on the bench that can play second base. Give him a day off against a tough left-hander. Brewers are going to see Francisco Liriano on Sunday here at Miller Park.
There goes Segura. Pitch is low. Throw to second is low. And Segura swipes second base.
Yeah, had a great jump. I don't think Hundley had much of a chance to throw Segura out on that. Yeah, decent lead, but a pretty good jump. And even a perfect throw might have been late.
Well, it sets the Brewers up. A base hit could bring in a run here.
Now this is where Gennett needs to expand just a little bit, that strike zone. First base hope. You got the pitcher waiting on deck.
Brewers have not led in this series, and Gennett strikes out, and the inning is over. So a runner stranded at second for the second consecutive inning. We are scoreless through 2. Scoreless as we head to the third inning. Willie Peralta ready to get back to work, and we always try to catch up with the member of the front office every series, and we have General Manager Doug Melvin with us today. Great to have you with us, Doug. And I know we spoke opening day. Now we're deep into the season now, 2 games in. What are your thoughts? I know things aren't going the way you guys wanted them to early, but what are you seeing early from this ball club?
Well, we're seeing a hot ball club on the other side swinging the bats, and you know, we're just going to have to hope that we can get out of our little mini slump here and swing the bat, score some runs. Willie's given us a chance tonight. The other 2 games we were down early and tried to fight back, but Willie's given us a chance here, and see if we can get our bats going. And just got to play good defense and that. But right now we're struggling with the bats, and but it is early here in the year, and I'm pretty confident we're going to hit. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you watch these guys in spring training. I mean, they were crushing the baseball, swinging the bats well, coming in here with a lot of confidence, and just one of those things. You go back to last year, and the Brewers, you guys lost 2 out of 3 to Atlanta, and then went on that great run in the month of April. A little bit too early to get too worried.
Yeah, we were swinging the bats last year. We went into Boston and Philadelphia, similar to what Colorado's doing now. Very aggressive early in the counts and hitting the balls in the gap, running around the bases. And Adam Lind, it's been nice to see him swinging the bat. He looks like a very professional hitter, and is going to really help this ball club in the middle of that batting order.
Yeah, Willie Peralta has really turned into one of the league's best, really, when you look at what he did last year. 17 wins, 11 of those wins coming after a Brewers loss. He's a guy that just continues to get better as his career goes on.
Yeah, he competes very well, and you know, we knew he had a good arm, but you know, the part of that is learning how to pitch. He did that last year. Rick Kranitz and him you know, really worked well together. Willie's got good stuff. I think he was 3rd or 4th highest fastball velocity in the National League last year, and he's got good movement on his pitches, and his breaking ball has become better.
As Parra runs one down, the Gold Glover in right retires LeMahieu for the first out. Looking around, Doug, some of the news topics around baseball, I'd love to get your opinion on. We've seen a couple of pretty sizable contracts here in the last few days. Rick Porcello signing a long-term deal with the Boston Red Sox, and Josh Hutcherson signing a long-term deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates. What is your approach with young players who are not quite eligible for free agency? How do you guys gauge when the right time is to make that kind of offer, much like you did with Ryan Braun a few years back?
Yeah. Well, we look at it, and we try to determine if there's a possibility. Sometimes you don't want to engage if you don't think there's a possibility, because then it can be unpleasant at that time. You know, we went through that with Gene Segura last year, and we thought we were getting very close with Gene, and then Andrelton Simmons signed with the Braves, and sort of hit a snag with it, and it didn't happen. And so you just got to be careful. You don't want to have them into the season. But you know, we didn't approach anybody this off season in that regard. But sometimes the players will go to you and say, "Hey, I'm interested in that case." But yeah, there's been some contracts. I see Cleveland signed a couple pitchers, and Harrison Porcello is a free agent next year. I think somebody said there's 20 free agent starting pitchers next year that make a minimum of $10 million. So it's a pretty big list of free agent pitchers, and so there'll be a lot of people, you know, going after some of those pitchers that are out there. And I think that's part of some of the deals that you've seen, like you know, Atlanta trying to free up money in their transaction they did with Kimbrel. They may want to get involved with free agency next year and free up some of the cash. It seems to appear that that's what they're doing. And you know, we've been a club. We have to embrace our younger players. We haven't gotten involved in obviously where the prices are going. There's a certain level that we can go to free agency wise, and after that we got to try to keep our own young players here.
Before we get out of here, I know there are 2 outs, so I'll try to squeeze this in if I can, with Peralta facing Charlie Blackmon, and it's on the ground, and we'll have to hold that thought for another day. Doug Melvin, you've got a chance at a contract yourself, and you get to make your own call.
We'll handle that another day.
Yes, another day. All right.
Good.
Never fails. Thanks,
Okay.
Doug.
Thank you.
Always enjoy spending a little time with Doug Melvin. 3 at Miller Park. Brewers Rockies. We head to the bottom of the third in a scoreless game. Our Carsoup.com trivia question: who did the Brewers send in a trade when acquiring Michael Blazek in 2013? Good question. I'll give you a hint. He is in the ballpark tonight.
That's pretty easy, isn't it? Don't you think that's an easy answer?
Well, I mean, if you're dialed into the Brewers year after year, yes. We'll see how easy it is.
So you're saying it's not that easy?
I got a pretty good idea, but I'm here a lot.
Yeah.
Peralta leads off. That's good to catch up with Doug Melvin. We always typically get a fast inning. I think.
Why don't you ask the question? I'll try and answer it.
We should. So my question was, you know, his name has been in the news recently because Mark Atanasio, the Brewers owner, has said there is an extension discussion and available for Doug Melvin when he wants it, but it's really up to him, up to Doug, to decide.
Right.
If he wants to continue to be the general manager, how long he wants to do that, and if it's a short-term thing, there has to be a succession plan in order that I'm sure Doug Melvin will be a part of as Peralta strikes out. And I think if you're Doug Melvin, what a great position to be in as the bearer of this organization.
Well, he's turned out to be one of the best GMs in baseball. I mean, certainly he's got some financial restraints. He doesn't have an endless checkbook to work with, and he's always been able to find the diamond in the rough. It seems like year after year he finds a guy that other clubs have given up on and ends up being a big part of the ball club. But I can't answer that for you.
No, I thought you said you could. So.
No, I said I'd try.
I think Doug has said he's going to get into the summer a little bit before he makes a decision, kind of see how the season goes, and we'll go from there. You might remember that Doug did extend or pick up the option of manager Ron Renneke. I think that continuity is really important at this point, especially the way the season ended last year. So the Brewers are trying to keep some familiar names and faces in place. Renneke is very highly respected around baseball, and he gets a chance to come back this year and sign for another year next year. I'm hoping for good results this year. Certainly needs it. The ball club, in Renneke's words, needs to get off to a good start. Good month would be important, just to try to erase some of those memories.
Yeah, get some confidence going, right? I don't think confidence is a problem for this ball club, but I think as a group they need to put some wins together, and they will.
Eddie Butler with one away. He's got Gomez in a 1-2 count. And down he goes. Butler hits the edge. Back-to-back strikeouts for Eddie Butler. Well, a reminder that next Wednesday it's an epic international showdown when the U.S. men's national team takes on Mexico. The Americans looking to extend a 4-year unbeaten streak against their historic rivals in the sold-out Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Coverage begins Wednesday, 7:30 Central, only on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. It was my old stomping grounds there, the Alamo Dome. I know just about every inch of that stadium.
Is that right?
Yeah, that was
San Antone.
Back in my camera days when I'm crawling under the stands and plugging in cameras. Remember the big fire hose incident in San Antonio when the pyro set off the fire hose and sprayed water all over everybody?
When was that?
That was 92, maybe 93. You don't remember that?
I don't remember.
It was big news, Rock.
Was it? Yeah. What was I doing in '92? Obviously not watching the news.
The fire cannons went off. So it was the pregame ceremonies. All the pyro goes off. The Spurs are ready to play their first game, and the fireworks set off the fire cannons.
Right. Yeah.
And they just sprayed water. I mean,
wow.
Massive amount of brown, rusty water on everybody. Those things are pretty powerful.
Did you do a hit on it?
Oh, no, I was a cameraman back then. They didn't let me on TV in those days.
Not then?
Behind the scenes. I remember I hid in front of the the basket.
And look at you now.
I saved the camera.
You're in front of every camera in the country.
Too many cameras. 3 balls and a strike on Lucroy.
I tell you, Eddie Butler has some good movement on his pitches. I mean, there's a 3-1 count. Lucroy doesn't miss too many of those. The fastball out over the plate with a count in his favor. He's got some good movement going down. He does a nice job of getting on top of his fastball and getting that downward movement as it gets to home plate.
Now, all the things you hear about Willie Peralta and the hopes that the Brewers have for Peralta, the same can be said for Butler with the Rockies. He does have command problems. He's walked 3 in the first 3 innings now. This is a 2-out walk here and a base runner for Adam Lind, who has been the best hitter out of the gates for the Brewers.
It seems like every time up he's making good solid contact somewhere. Very good at going to the opposite field. He can turn on the ball, whistle it down the right field line, and he's hit a couple of balls in his series very hard to center field.
So Lind, who doubled a 1-hopper out to left center his first time up, with Lucroy at first, and that one fastball in there for a strike at 94. In the air, center field, way back. Blackman at the track, at the wall, goodbye! Adam Lind, his first Brewer home run. And the first home run of the season for Milwaukee. 2-0 Brew Crew as Lind goes deep.
Well, and finally the Brewers take a lead in this series. We've been talking about Adam Lind and how sweet a swing he has, and it's an 0-1 fastball, just nice short stroke, and knocks it out of here way back off the batter's eye in center field. There you go.
That is an excited dugout. For the first time this season, the Brewers have a lead. And a 2-run bomb with 2 outs by Adam Lind.
Doesn't ever seem to overswing, does he? I mean, for what we saw him in spring training and so far in this series, 3 games, always seems to be in composure. There's a changeup going away from. He supplied all the power on that. That was a changeup from Butler and knocked it out of here.
Ramirez, fly ball into right center. Blackman will put this one away, and that will retire the side. But a 2-out walk by Lucroy sets up the first home run of the season. Adam Lind to center field. A 2-run shot, and the Brewers have a 2-0 lead after 3. Hotel and Casino. Adam Lynn puts the Brewers on the board. A 2-run home run with 2 outs in the 3rd. After a down year last year where he fought back problems for a good chunk of the season. Just 6 homers, and he delivers with a home run in the 3rd inning. And what a start he is off to. Lynn picking up his first RBIs of the year, and now 2 for 2 with a double and a homer. So Peralta will pitch with the lead. Carlos Gonzalez leads off for Colorado. Gonzalez to Lewitsky and Morneau, first 3 up. Gonzalez had a double, a rocket into right center field in the 1st inning. One of the 2 hits allowed by Peralta. That is a bare hand snag. How about that?
Yeah.
I think it was going to be an out either way, but Peralta, with instincts only, picks that one clean with his bare hand to get the out.
Man, they don't practice that in spring training. Check this out. That's a 1-hop. That ball was hit pretty well. Good news is it got Willie right in the palm of the hand. Didn't really get him in the fingers at all, so it shouldn't be an issue. A 1-hopper. That one had something on it too. Willie made it look easy.
It is not recommended, but it's hard to fight instincts.
See, you didn't get it out on the hand or the fingers at all, which would be an issue, but got it right in the palm of the hand.
Doesn't even need to throw a pitch. A lot of times they'll let you throw one just in case. On the ground, backhanded, Segura fires a strike across the infield. Gonzalez and Tulowitzki retired on consecutive pitches.
Boy, how important is it for Peralta to get this Rockies offense out quickly in this inning, get a lead? You want to hold it through the 1st inning that you're out there in the mound. Keep that momentum in your dugout.
Those all important shutdown innings. Innings after your offense gives you runs. Here's Morneau.
Which is no small task against this group.
The batting champion in the National League last year. Lines one to left, slicing. Davis will run it down. Inning over. Good one for Willie Peralta. Pitch count in good shape. Just 5 in that inning. And a 1-2-3 frame. Baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Marshfield Clinic. Don't just live, shine. By Piggly Wiggly, the official supermarket of Fox Sports Wisconsin. And by Hupy and Abraham, 800-800-5678. Hupy and Abraham, tell them you mean business. So far, so good for the Brewers. Off to a good start. 2-run homer by Adam Lind. And Willie Peralta with 4 shutout innings against the Rockies. Brewers coming up, bottom of the 4th. And it'll be Chris Davis to start it against right-hander Eddie Butler, making just his 4th career Major League start. He spent parts of 3 seasons in the minor leagues before making his big league debut last year. 61 minor league games, 60 of those were starts. It's not a whole lot of time to get ready for the big stage, but that's becoming more and more common.
Yeah. You know, the economics of baseball, some of these kids coming up early, coming up young, big arms.
Davis into right. That's going to get down. A base hit for Davis. And he's thinking about 2. He got a great throwing arm out there, and Gonzalez,
I wouldn't run on him,
wisely holds up a single to lead off the 4th.
That's a nice piece of hitting by Chris Davis. Look at the fastball up and in a little bit. Didn't try and pull it. There's a 2-seam fastball. Yep, it was up, it was in, and Davis slices it down that right field line. Well, he's staying on the baseball nicely to start the season. Hitting over 300. Pretty good spray chart last year. A lot of those hits to center and right came as the season went on.
Gerardo Parra with a lead man on. And a little half swing. They'll ask if he went. He did. Dan Isonia, the third base umpire. So strike 1 on Parra. Parra reached on a fielder's choice his last time up. Took a good play by Nolan Arenado. Rockies third baseman went over, made a nice backhand pickup. One thing you notice about Butler, and it was a very similar story when Peralta came to the big leagues as well, and those two have been connected as far as stuff goes, but doesn't really have that good slow off-speed pitch yet. I mean, he's fastball, slider. The slider is his breaking ball, and you know, it's a firm pitch as well.
And the changeup, that's the pitch that Lind hit out of the ballpark. So third best pitch, you might not see another one of those.
Such a separator from the good pitchers who have stuff like Butler and like Peralta, who have that mid to upper 90-mile-an-hour fastball and that slider. Those are go-to pitches. But that third pitch for a starter is the one that separates those who can get by on stuff at a mediocre level. You know, some days good, some days bad. Kind of leans you towards the average, but you have that third pitch. That's the one that separates you, moves you into elite status when you have fastball at that velocity.
You don't see too many, 22, 23-year-olds come up to the big leagues with 3 good pitches.
Yeah, don't need them, right?
Well, I mean, you have such good stuff coming up. That's why you get to the big leagues, and they try and work on that third pitch for you. Yeah, Willie right now trying to work hard on that changeup. He's got a curveball he'll flip up there once in a while.
And a call, strike 3. Parra not happy with that call from home plate umpire C.B. Buckner.
That took a little bit off that pitch right there. That was 91 miles an hour right at the top of the zone on the corner. I don't know, was that a changeup grip?
I think it looked like a changeup grip. To your point, you're talking about how hard his changeup is.
A little too firm, you know.
Not enough separation between the fastball and the changeup. What's the ideal miles per hour between the two, if you can get there?
6 or 7 miles an hour, perhaps.
LeMahieu gloves and gets to his feet to take care of Segura.
You don't want to be too slow where guys can double clutch on you, and you don't want it too firm so it doesn't look different to them. See, this is a 91-mile-an-hour changeup right here. Actually, it was a fastball. We were talking about the changeup. That was a two-seamer. So the video makes liars out of his partner.
That's right.
That was 91 miles an hour right on the corner.
Well, the truth is out, though.
Maybe it's a BP fastball. No, it took a little off the fastball.
The dead fish.
Yeah. Video does not lie.
We're all about accuracy here. Tough to see. The pitch that Lind hit out was a changeup. Here's Scooter Gennett with a runner at second.
You know, it takes guys a little longer, you know, as they get through the major leagues, and you know, Willie's just starting to learn this. The tougher the situation, maybe the more you want to take a little bit off. You know, change-ups and curveballs, those types of pitches. It takes a while to get into your head and trust yourself and do that. Tendency is you want to keep throwing harder and harder. That's typically what young pitchers do.
Well, Jimmy Nelson, who the Brewers will use fifth in their rotation, he's tried to come up with a slow curveball to have a change of pace on velocity. He throws in the mid-90s as well, trying to have a pitch you can count on. Gennett hits it hard right at Blackman in center field, and that will retire the side. Tough luck for Gennett. Brewers fail to score in the fourth. They lead 2-0.
Welcome back to Miller Park. Brewers lead the Rockies 2-0 in the top of the fifth, and Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Book your stay now. Well, the Milwaukee Brewers Community Involvement Initiative, known as Community Achievers Award, will recognize residents throughout the state of Wisconsin each month during the season for displaying extraordinary efforts in their community. All adults and school-aged children throughout the state of Wisconsin are eligible to participate in the Community Achievers Program.
Good to have Greg Matzik with us, filling in for us tonight. Sophia's working and Telly working the Bucks game tonight. Great time of year for sports in Wisconsin. Badgers making that historic run back to the Final Four, the national championship game. Bucks look like they're playoff bound, and the baseball season is underway once again. Nolan Arenado leads off for Colorado. Peralta coming off a 5-pitch, 3 up, 3 down, 4th inning.
Yeah, just what he needed, and the Brewers. A shutdown inning after the Brewers got a couple of runs in the third.
Inside, 2 balls and a strike on Arenado. It's been a tough out for the Brewers in this series with 5 hits already, including a home run. Had a 4 RBI game on opening day and then added another ribby last night. Hits that one hard, left field line foul. Out ahead of it.
He and Dickerson both with 5 RBIs to start the season, the first 2 games. Yeah, Willie's making his pitches much better tonight than the first 2 games of the series. And both Kyle Loesch and Matt Garza struggle a little bit with a little command. And Willie's been able to keep the ball in the corners and down for the most part so far. He's that good sinker. That pitch starts out right down the middle of the plate. By the time it gets to the hitting zone, starting to dive in on the hands of that right-handed batter.
Greg reported earlier in the game about Peralta and his desire to be a little more efficient on the mound. He's not a big strikeout pitcher, even though he has strikeout stuff with the velocity and the slider, but he does get a lot of ground balls when he's right. That one's in the air, right center. Parra's going to have to watch this one go to the fence. It's going to be another extra base hit for the Rockies. Boy, Arenado is on some kind of roll at the plate right now.
Oh, he can rake. Pulling the ball down the left field line, taking that fastball away and just shooting it into the gap out there in right center. Out over the plate, up a little bit, but Arenado, look at the way he just serves that ball. He's able to stay back enough, nice short stroke, and just jumps off his bat into the gap. So yet another double for the Colorado Rockies.
That gives them 14 for the series. This is game 3. Arenado has 3 of those 14 doubles. Runner at second to start the inning. Dickerson rolls to Lind on the first pitch. That'll get the runner to third base. Well, a big bat is retired by Peralta for the first out.
Yep, took a little off on the first pitch. Able to get the weak ground out. Hey, that brings us today's Tavern of the Game winner, Grumpy's Pub and Grill in Trevor, Wisconsin. That's in Kenosha County. If they call the Brewers in the next 24 hours. Grumpy's gets 40 Miller Lite beer pen tickets to a Brewers home game this year. This offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite.
One away for Nick Hundley. Rockies threatened with a runner at third. Oh, nice play by Lucroy. That almost got back to the screen.
Not much time to react when you're getting it up there at about 95 miles an hour. He set up inside and he missed by about 3 inches off the outside corner. Nice recovery by Lucroy.
Saves a run. Won't show up in the box score, but it matters. A lot of catchers in the big leagues going to chase that one back to the screen. First time tonight the Rockies have had a runner at third base. They stranded a runner at second with 1 out in the first inning. Had a 1-out single in the second, but a caught stealing wiped out that base runner. Lucroy blocks another one. Excellent work behind the plate. 2 balls and a strike on Hundley.
Yeah, that was more like a curveball and a slider. Lucroy able to smother it, keeps it close. He's able to soften that chest nicely. The way he just kind of cradles around that baseball. Actually hit the glove, but keeps it close.
Peralta behind in the count to Hundley, who has 4 hits on the young season. 2-2. Now this is a spot where Peralta could use a strikeout, and a spot where he has the stuff to get a strikeout.
And Brewers are conceding a run at least everywhere but third base. Now the infield creeps in. Now that you have 2 strikes on the hitter, in more of a defensive mode up there at the plate.
On the ground, and it's off the glove of Ramirez, but he keeps it in the infield. So Arenado has to stay put. Hundley will reach.
No, there's a case where bringing the infield in hurts you a little bit. If you're back a little bit more, Ramirez is able to make that play. He smothers it, keeps it in the infield. Arenado has to stay put at third base. Nice play by Rami.
So first and third now. Infield hit by Hundley. Rockies have 4 hits now. Runners at the corners for DJ LeMahieu. Key hitter in this inning right now. First and third, 1 out. You got the pitcher coming up next. Too early to pinch hit. And LeMahieu shows bunt. Takes a ball.
Yep, and a guy up at the plate that loves to use right field. Big hole between first and second. Scooter Gennett and double play depth. Not sure what that was. It wasn't a squeeze. Maybe a safety squeeze. Who knows? Boy, the way these guys have been swinging the bats, why would you do that?
Right. Yeah, that had all the makings of a player initiated move right there.
Right.
No, he squares again and takes ball 2. Well, maybe Walt Weiss sensing a low scoring game. Stu Cole, his third base coach, relaying the signs to his hitter. 2-0 the count. First and third, 1 out. And LeMahieu shows bunt. Now swings. Lucroy's throw to second. Got a runner in a rundown. Not very good speed out there. And Lind will put the tag on him. Brewers executed that beautifully.
Yes, they did. Well, that's a heck of a throw by Lucroy. Scooter Gennett running him back, making sure that Arenado not going to take off the home plate. Surprised that Arenado didn't take off when Lind had the baseball, because he would have had to pivot around and make a good throw to home plate. And look at Gennett. He just keeps his eye on Arenado. So does Lind. And then it's pretty much easy. Nick Hundley falls down in the infield, and Arenado has to stay at third. Well done by the Brewers.
Well, it all starts with the throw by Lucroy, and he put another one right on the money.
I don't get that. I mean, the way these guys have been swinging the bat, why do you feel you need to steal a run?
Let him hack, especially with a pitcher coming up.
I mean, LeMahieu's been red hot. He's hitting 400. I mean, Nick Hundley taking off, obviously not trying to steal the base to provoke a throw. He got it. I just don't understand that one.
So 2 outs and a chance for Peralta to get LeMahieu, or maybe pitch around him a little bit, see if he'll chase with the pitcher coming up. Ideally, you'd love him to lead off next inning, the pitcher. LeMahieu, a little jam shot, and it's going to get through a base hit.
Yeah, that's a killer right there. I mean, he had a 3-1 count. I'm surprised he didn't walk him. I mentioned LeMahieu loves to use right field. He's been doing it the entire series. Got the pitcher on deck. Runs have been tough to come by for the Brewers. And they give up a 2-out base hit to the number 8 hitter. Crowds him with a fastball, but LeMahieu about as good as it gets in shooting that ball in the right field. He had first base open, a 3-1 count. Now you walk him and go after Eddie Butler.
That's the kind of hit when you're going right as an offense, as the Rockies are. Those are the hits that fall, though. They're the one that find the holes. Sawed him off, but able to punch it through.
No, Renegade's not big on the intentional walk. Never has been, probably never will be.
2-1 Brewers. Rockies on the board for the first time. And it's quickly 0-2 on the pitcher Butler. Count stays at 0-2. Brewers got a 2-run home run from Adam Lind with 2 outs in the 3rd. It's a big hit by LeMahieu. Able to get a run out of this inning after the Brewers executed the rundown very well. Peralta trying to put Butler away. Doesn't chase the slider.
These are these situations where early in his career Willie would become a little bit unraveled. He's thinking he's able to get out of the inning, get a big base hit to score a run. He's got to collect himself again and get this out.
And down he goes. So Butler is out. A strikeout for Peralta, his first of the game. But the Rockies get a run. A 2-out RBI single by LeMahieu makes it 2-1. Park. Brewers Rockies game 3 of this series. Our Carsoup.com trivia question: who did the Brewers send in a trade when acquiring Michael Blazek back in 2013? Rock says an easy one. He's in the other bullpen. John Axford. Yeah, if you've been with us the last few years, you know that one. Ended up in a World Series that year. Axford. That was a waiver wire transaction a month after the trade deadline, when you have to clear through waivers to be traded. Brewers are high on Blazek, hoping he can stretch out. He's in the bullpen to start the year, but a guy who could end up in the starting rotation at some point if need be.
Yep, long reliever, spot starter right now along with Tyler Thornburg.
Peralta leads off here in the 5th. Strikeout victim his last time up. That was a big run the Rockies got last inning. When you think about how they got that run, a hard hit ball to start the inning by Arenado, a double. But then Hundley reaching on an infield hit, little tapper to third, and then LeMahieu with a jam shot with 2 outs that finds the hole between first and second. You hate giving up runs in that type of situation with the pitcher coming up next.
Yeah, first base open, and particularly with the the count in the hitter's favor at 3-1.
Let's see if the Brewers can add some offense here as Peralta takes a call, strike 3. 4th, make it the 5th strikeout for Eddie Butler. Check out our Powerball home run leaderboard. Carlos Gomez with 23. These are last year's numbers. And you're hoping all of these numbers are elevated this season with Braun and Ramirez back healthy. Hope they can have a full season of health. Gomez, the club leader with 23, stole 30 bases. Carlos is 0 for 1 tonight, a strikeout and a walk. The Brewers are punching out a lot early in the schedule. Butler has 5 tonight. .21 Ks through the first 2.5 games for Milwaukee at this point.
Well, that's what they do. They get the strikeouts, but you hope that the home runs are going to come. That's a trade-off. You have home run hitters, they're going to strike out. Most of them do. That's the way the team's built. That's the way they score runs.
Brewers have walked 3 times tonight. 4 for the season. So 21 strikeouts and only 4 walks. Brewers have a new hitting coach, Darnell Coles. He's coming to Milwaukee from the Detroit Tigers. And he and John Shelby handle the hitting coaching duties for the Brewers now. Gomez slightly jammed, and a fly ball easy enough for Blackman in center for out number 2. There's Darnell Coles. He was with the Brewers organization, actually managed in the organization before going to Detroit, and he is back and very familiar with a number of these young players who have come up through the minor league system. And good to have Darnell. He was a terrific player in his time.
I played against Darnell when he was a member of the Seattle Mariners way back in the day.
Hard worker, positive, always has a little quip and a smile on his face, and brings a lot of energy, and that's kind of a prerequisite for a hitting coach.
Yeah, Darnell got bounced around a little bit. Seattle, Detroit, Pittsburgh, back to Seattle, back to Detroit, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Toronto, St. Louis, and finished up with Colorado.
That is bouncing around.
How about that, huh?
Serious bouncing.
Was a Brewers manager in the minor leagues in 2012 and 13 in Huntsville.
Still has managerial aspirations. Very happy to be in the big leagues as a hitting coach after being an assistant hitting coach with the Tigers last year. 0-2 to Lucroy. Jonathan off to a slow start at the plate. He is still hitless.
Well, he's done that before. He's usually able to bounce back. He's had some slow starts in his career, but he's always been able to put up the numbers. The media guy doesn't lie.
Lucroy finished 4th in the MVP voting in the National League last season. Popped him up, and Luke starts the season 0 for 10. No runs for the Brewers in the 5th. 1-2-3 inning for Butler. We go to the 6th, 2-1. All smiles so far tonight. The Brewers getting a 2-run homer from Adam Lind in the 3rd inning. First homer of the year for Milwaukee. Rockies scored in the 5th. And that's where we sit as we head to inning number 6. It's 2-1 Brew Crew. Peralta back at it. Top of the order coming up. 3rd time through the order for Peralta against Colorado as Blackman takes strike 1. A couple of finals in from earlier today. The Cubs shut out the Cardinals 2-0. Jake Arrieta beat Lance Lynn. Joe Maddon's first win as the skipper of the Cubs.
How many shutouts are there in big leagues so far?
Well, there were 2 today.
Twins got shut out again.
Yep, Tigers shut them out 11-0 behind Anibal Sanchez. And now 8 shutouts through the first 3 days. A lot of games still in progress in the big leagues tonight.
Yeah, Brewers were one of those shutouts.
As a called strike 3. Blackman is out. Barking on his way out at CB Buckner. Looked like a good pitch though.
Yep, slider.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Willie Peralta.
Yeah, good pitch, a breaking ball. Right on the corner. Not sure what Blackman's complaining about. Boy, oh boy, that had a lot of the plate. Where do you think he thought it was? High enough.
Those are the kind of pitches when you hit one out of the ballpark, you know, TV analysts like yourself say, well, you can't leave them there.
A hanger?
Point is, I'm not sure that was never not a strike at any point.
Yeah. I think he was just fooled.
Maybe he was just mad at himself.
Good pitch. Any pitch that results in an out is a good pitch.
Carlos Gonzalez, who doubled his first time up. One of the 5 Colorado hits. Brewers have just 3 hits tonight, but one of those was a 2-run home run by Lind. He has that stroke dialed in right now, does Adam Lind. A double and a home run tonight. Milwaukee will welcome in Pittsburgh Friday. Colorado's headed home. Their home opener at Coors Field against the Cubs on Friday. So both teams with a day off tomorrow. In the air to left, pretty well hit. Davis on the run, and Davis! Oh, what a catch! Chris Davis makes a great catch as he crashes up against the wall.
Wow.
Standing ovation from this Miller Park crowd.
Well, Gonzalez can't believe it. That's a heck of a play. I mean, fully stretched out, crashes into the wall and holds on to it. Well done, Chris Davis. They don't get any better than that.
And those who weren't standing after seeing that replay on the big screen here at Miller Park also come to their feet. What a play in real speed.
Well, he's measuring it up there and realizes how close he's getting. Reaches up and crashes into the wall, holds on. He looks like he's all right. Kind of protected himself with his throwing arm.
Tulowitzki on the first pitch. Down the left field line, extra bases for Tulowitzki. So a double, his first hit of the night. Spoils the fun briefly here. And a runner at second, the tying run for Colorado with Morneau coming up. 4 doubles already for Troy Tulowitzki. And 15 doubles already for the Rockies.
It doesn't matter really what you throw this guy early in the count. I mean, he's all over it. Fastballs, curveballs, sliders. You make a mistake, it's going to get hit hard somewhere. Right center around to the left field line.
Big batter here for Peralta. The batting champ from last year, Morneau. Morneau hit .319 last year. Jose Altuve won the batting title in the American League, hit .341. Hit hard, center field. Gomez makes the play. almost slipped and fell. That ball was tagged by Morneau, but the Rockies hit one right at him. A couple of Adam balls. And the catch of the year so far in Game 3. Face plant into the wall. Takes extra bases away from Gonzalez. Willie loves it. Brewers still lead. Hard hit balls that end up as outs, but he puts up a 0. Great catch from Chris Davis. And here's Adam Lind now, and Rockies had quite a night tonight again.
Yeah, fastball out over the plate, a ringing double into center field. Then the next time up, Eddie Butler throws him a changeup out over the plate. Look how long that bat stays in a hitting zone. Nice, easy swing. Jumps off his bat, a home run for the Brewers, and they had a 2-0 lead at that point.
Powerball home run number 1 for the Brewers and for Adam Lind.
They call it a pure swing, a swing like Adam Lind.
Not a lot of wasted motion in that swing.
No.
He is now 6 for 9 for the season.
First impression's pretty good, right?
No question.
That's what you want. You want to come over to a new team and have a good early start. He certainly has been able to do that.
Butler's fallen behind him 3-0, and Lynn taking all the way. Ball 4. Walked him on 4 straight.
Well, relive the magic of the 1987 Brewers team streak on Rod Deere Bobblehead Day, courtesy of Toyota. That's this Sunday as the Brewers play host to the Pirates. Plus, as part of Spring Madness 414, select tickets are 50% off. Visit Brewers.com for those tickets.
Activity in the Colorado bullpen. Christian Friedrich is loosening. Rockies have 2 left-handers in their bullpen. Boone Logan, who we saw last night, he's more their late inning reliever when they have a lead or the game is tied. And Friedrich, the early lefty. 6th inning at Miller Park. Another leadoff walk issued by Eddie Butler.
Yeah, 3 of the 4 have been leadoff walks.
Brewers have had their lead base runner or their lead hitter reach base in 4 of the first 6 innings tonight. The 3 walks and a single by Davis to start the 4th. One and 2 the count. You can tell Butler has good stuff, good live fastball when you see a guy like Aramis Ramirez, who is about as good of a fastball hitter as there is, get tied up a little bit.
Yeah, late movement. That's what he's got. and he's got moving even when he's up in the strike zone, which is somewhat unusual.
On the ground, Tulowitzki can't get it into center field, a base hit. Lind will hold his ground. That one finds a hole. And Aramis Ramirez with his 3rd hit of the season.
And off the bat, you might have thought it was going to be a double play ball. Tulowitzki not able to get there.
Well, a big spot here for Milwaukee. 2 on, nobody out. Chris Davis coming up. And our Jimmy John's delivery of the game, if you're just picking us up, this was in the top of this inning. And what a catch. Crashing up against the fence and left.
Yeah, if he doesn't make that catch, it's another extra base hit. Tulowitzki would come up and double right after that. He might have a tie game.
So now Davis will try to do some damage with his bat. Davis walked and singled in his first 2 trips to the plate. Big cut comes up empty. Chris is a good outfielder. He doesn't throw the ball well, although he's working on that part of it. Actually went to a pitching camp this offseason with the former Major League pitching coach Tom House. Got a pitching instruction for his throwing, his outfield throwing. Pretty outside the box thinking by Chris Davis.
Yeah, it's interesting in that, you know, he now has his glove hand up a little bit higher near his head. It used to be down around his waist when he got rid of the baseball, and he says that has helped his arm strength just a bit.
Now he wants so much to be a presence on both sides. He's at the big league level because of his bat. He's a terrific hitter. He's going to hit for a lot of power. He's just getting his career started too. You figure as he gets older, matures, starts to see big league pitching, his strike zone is going to tighten up a little bit. That's something that he stated he wanted to work on this year. A little more plate discipline.
Yeah, patient at the plate, draw some walks.
He does make good catches out there. He runs good routes, and one of his better catches of his career. Top of this inning.
You improve that throwing arm, you continue to improve in the outfield. You won't have to be taken out late in games. We saw Ron Rennick do that quite a bit last year with leads.
Davis is the son of a baseball scout and a former professional baseball player. His dad's still with the scouting bureau. So he's grown up around the game, knows the game, very respectful, pretty quiet individual. We call him the Big Chill. He's a pretty easygoing guy out of Cal State Fullerton.
Never seems to get too excited even after that great catch.
Brewers need a big hit here. They got the first 2 on, a chance to do some damage. And the way the Rockies are swinging the bats to start the year, you'll take every run you can get. 2 on, nobody out, the 1-2. Davis hanging tough, had a good rip at a 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
The pitch count starting to get up there for Eddie Butler at 88 now. But he's still got some pretty good giddy up on that fastball, 96 miles an hour. It's nice to be young.
Some questions whether he would make the start today. He's been dealing with some shoulder tightness at spring training. But here he is, day 3, third spot in that rotation. Davis on the ground. Butler fires to second, out there, and a double play. 1-4-3 on the double play. Len does advance to third base, but Butler will gladly take the 2 outs.
Yeah, had Chris out on the end. It was an 0-2 pitch. Tried to pull it, and an easy double play.
So it'll be up to Gerardo Parra to try to drive in a 2-out run, and it looks like Walt Weiss is going to make a move here. Going with the left-hander. Going to play matchup. So Weiss makes the call to the bullpen, and the end of the line for Eddie Butler. Well, the 23-year-old Butler, his night concludes here in the 6th inning. We'll set up the new pitcher when we come back. On Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. And by the Wisconsin Lottery, reminding you to please play responsibly. Well, we got a pitching change here. Pitching coach Steve Foster, all smiles with his young hurler, Eddie Butler, who exits trailing 2-1, but a good showing for him here tonight. And Walt Weiss is going to give the ball to one of his 2 lefties in the bullpen, Christian Friedrich.
Yep, a converted starter. It's 2 years between appearances for Christian Friedrich. He was a starter for the Rockies in 12. Came back last year, 16 appearances, and didn't fare all that well. 0-4, 5.92, his second appearances this year.
Big spot for the Brewers. 2 outs in the inning. They had 2 on, nobody out. But after the double play ball, it's up to Gerardo Parra. And Weiss playing the numbers here. Parra has struggled throughout his career against left-handed pitching. One of the reasons he's been in a platoon for a good part of his career. Trying to find the right one here with a runner at third. You got a right-hander in Segura next. And you know Friedrich does not want to lose Parra. He might get one to hit.
And this is why Ron Renegade split the left-handers. Jeanette now in the 8th spot. Segura moves up. With these situations in mind, you don't want to have back-to-back lefties.
Oh, the 2-0 right there. 2 balls, 1 strike. Weiss does have a right-hander in the bullpen, Brooks Brown. As you see the splits on Parra. Just a .231 hitter against lefties. Adam Lind at third. Parra rolls over 1 foul. 2-2. There's Brown. He would probably be on to face Segura if it gets to that point. Walt Weiss playing matchup here in the 6th inning. Going to the breaking ball here. 2-2. Count goes full now. Well, a lot of pressure on the pitcher in this spot, knowing this could be his only hitter. See what he has in mind. Parra on the ground. LeMahieu backhands, throws him out. Inning over. Good start to the inning, turns into a 0. Brewers strand one. Still 2-1 Milwaukee. Will Smith, the right-hander Jeremy Jeffress. Lee Tunnell getting the instructions from the dugout, the bullpen coach. But Peralta remains, and he has been sharp here tonight. He's only allowed the 1 run through 6 innings.
Yeah, he's been able to mix in that changeup pretty nicely. He's got some good defense behind him, including himself, making a nice play there. The infield is always busy when Willie's out there with that heavy sinker. The slider's working for him. Has not walked the batter. That's certainly a big key in trying to keep this offense down for Colorado. You want to give him free pass. And Chris Davis, a heck of a play out there in left. And as Willie works here in the 7th inning, he's got a 2-1 lead.
80 pitches for Peralta. He's been able to keep his pitch count to a minimum. That inning he made the barehanded play. That was a 5-pitch inning, and Arenado swinging away on the first pitch. Gomez will settle under it. And a big bat and a hot bat retired right out of the gates here in the 7th.
Well, you always have to feel good you get that guy out. Boy, he's been swinging it. Yeah, really no soft spots in this batting order right now.
Now to bring up Corey Dickerson, who's 1 out of 2. Was caught stealing in the 2nd inning. Lucroy has 2 caught stealing here tonight. Rockies with a run on 6 hits. That run came on a 2-out RBI by LeMahieu last inning, or rather in the 5th inning. He singled to right with 2 away. Dickerson takes a big swing at the plate. He airs it out. And he fouls that one back off Lucroy. No balls and 2 strikes. Had some lower back problems in spring training, did Dickerson, and that makes perfect sense when you watch him swing the bat.
Yeah, he doesn't get cheated up there. Of course, if you talk to Adam Lynn at his back, he says it never bothers him to swing the bat. Go figure. Who knows?
Oh, 0-2. Peralta has Dickerson in a hole. In the air, right center. That is way back, and that ball is gone in a flash. This game is all tied at 2 as Corey Dickerson hits his 2nd home run of the season
on a 0-2 pitch. You hate to see that.
And no reason why you have to throw a strike when you have a big power hitter down in the count 0-2. He tries to get a slider by him and leaves it up out over the plate, and Dickerson not about to miss that. That's right in the wheelhouse of a left-handed batter down in the zone. And that ball got out of here in a flat. You're right, it went out of here quickly.
So a home run with 1 out. Here's Hundley now. Every mistake the Brewers make on the mound is being destroyed by Rocky hitters.
Yeah, but you hate to see mistakes like that on 0-2 pitches. Now you know he didn't want to throw it there, but it ended up there.
What a turn here. As Hundley, little chopper to Ramirez. Second out. The Brewers are sitting there with 2 on and nobody out in the 6th inning. Unable to score, and the Rockies tie it up. So you can vote for your MVP and help us decide which Fox Sports Supports partner will be crowned the winner. The charity with the most votes at the end of the Brewers season will score big with a donation from Hupy and Abraham. Choose from American Heart Association of Wisconsin, Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Milwaukee, or Fisher House, Wisconsin. Just go to foxsportswisconsin.com/supports as that one goes right back to Peralta, and the inning is over. LeMahieu grounds out back to the mound, but damage done. Corey Dickerson on an 0-2 pitch has tied it at 2.
Here at Miller Park, we head to the bottom of the 7th. It's not too late to get on board for the 2015 season with a Brewers ticket plan. Guarantee the best seats for all of the season's biggest games, including all fan giveaways, post-game concerts, and marquee matchups. All starting at just $16 per ticket. For more information, visit brewers.com/ticket plan.
Rockies have made another pitching change. Right-hander Brooks Brown out of the Colorado bullpen.
Big, tall right-hander. 28 appearances last year and a .277 earned run average. A pretty good strikeout to walk ratio for Brooks Brown. And that opponent batting average right around 200.
Just his 2nd season in the big leagues on an opening day roster for the first time. Gene Segura will lead off. We are now tied after the Corey Dickerson home run. Had home runs tonight from Adam Lind and Corey Dickerson. Getting down to the bottom of the order here. Willie Peralta's spot due up 3rd. His pitch count's in good shape to continue, but unlikely he'll hit in this inning. Jonathan Broxton is loosening in the bullpen. Segura tonight is 0 for 2. Has a stolen base. He reached on a fielder's choice in the second inning. He's made a fine play at short tonight, taking a hit away from Tulowitzki.
Pretty good slider from Brown right there. Very short, late break as it goes away from Segura. Fastball in the upper 80s.
Brooks Brown, Statesboro, Georgia, is his hometown. Made his big league debut last year in July. Quite a story. Signed as a minor league free agent with the Rockies, and then makes it to the big leagues. Once you spend 6 seasons in the minor leagues, you become a free agent. It's a rule to protect the players from an organization just burying that player in that system. So you don't see many 6-year minor league free agents make it to the major leagues, especially that quickly.
Right.
Here's Arenado on the ground ball from Segura. Close play in time for the out. The speedy Segura, and Arenado just gets him for the first out of the inning.
Yeah, that's one thing you get out of Segura. He's always going to bust it down that line as best he can. Arenado just barely able to get him. Yep, got him by half a step. Good hustle by Segura.
Got to bring up Scooter Gennett. Two-two game, bottom 7 now. Brewers had a 2-0 lead with a Adam Lind homer as Gennett pops this one up. Coming in Dickerson, he wants it and makes the catch in fair territory for out number 2. 2 up, 2 down for Brooks Brown. And Renick's going to go to his bench here. So that's the end of the line for Peralta. Luis Jimenez will pinch hit for Willie.
Well, he steamed in that dugout, giving up that 0-2 home run.
Brewers can still make a winner out of him. They get a run here in this inning and hang on.
No walks, 2 strikeouts, pitching to contact. And usually only 88 pitches through 7 innings. That's a pretty good outing. You're going to win a lot of games. You have a line like that.
Luis Jimenez on an opening day roster for the first time himself. Got some big league time with the Angels. Little jam shot roller to Arenado. 3 up, 3 down for Brooks Brown. 2-2 tie through 7. We go to the 8th. Colorado coming to bat. A Corey Dickerson homer has tied this one up. There's Mike Fiers, and he's in our Miller Lite What's on Tap tonight. Friday will be his first outing of the season. Fiers against left-hander Jeff Locke. See their numbers from 2014. Fiers was fantastic coming up for the injured Matt Garza. And he'll get the ball Friday night. Starts a run of 22 consecutive games against the National League Central Pirates for 3 games beginning Friday. Pitching change for Renicky. Jonathan Broxton will come on to work in a 2-2 tie.
Yeah, terrific numbers a year ago. Split time between the Brewers and the Reds. 11 of those appearances came as a Milwaukee Brewer. A .230 earned run average. And opponent batting average under 200. The Brewers setup man are hoping to get a 0, get a run, and get K-Rod in.
Daniel Descalso will pinch hit for Colorado. They are at the 9th spot of their order. So Descalso hits for Brooks Brown, who works a scoreless 7th. The Brew Crew with only 4 hits tonight. Scored 2 runs yesterday, both coming in the same inning. Got 2 runs with 1 swing of Adam Lynn's bat here tonight. Offense is sluggish to start the year. Neither starting pitcher will factor in the decision tonight. Eddie Butler for the Rockies went 5 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs. Peralta 7 innings, 7 hits and 2 runs. No walks and a couple of strikeouts for Willie. Butler had 5 Ks to go along with 4 walks.
I would imagine the Rockies pretty pleased with Butler's performance tonight. Although he did show some wildness, he was able to make some pitches when he needed them. Got some double play balls.
Walt Weiss has a very good bullpen. Got some hard throwers out there this season. Adam Ottavino is warming up in the Colorado bullpen now. We saw him last night. He looked unhittable last night. That gives you a good look at what a hitter sees right there.
Yeah.
Across the body.
Yeah.
And
Sinker slider. I mean, he's got something on. He throws hard. He's got a good slider. A closer in the waiting.
Two-two to Descalso. Got him. Broxton strikes him out. And a fastball by him, and the first out of the inning is a K.
Yep, 93 miles an hour, and we saw Broxton in spring training throwing a lot of sliders. Didn't throw many last year when he came over. Right on the outside corner, Descalso underneath.
A little late tail to it. Broxton pitched most of the year last year without his best slider. He is hoping to bring that back this year.
He didn't throw many when he came over.
Traded from the Reds to the Brewers last season. Spent some time in the closer's role with the Dodgers. Was very good in that role. Twice made an all-star team. He began the year as the closer for Cincinnati when Aroldis Chapman was on the disabled list. In the air, left center, well hit. That is trouble. And that's off the base of the wall. Blackman will roll into second with a double. And this series is going to be remembered as the series of doubles for Colorado. That is their 4th of the night, their 16th of the series.
There's something in it. And look at Blackman way back nutsy. Outer half of the plate, trying to get away from Blackman. That late movement away, and he just slaps it out there into the gap. These Rockies seem like they have that baseball jumping off their bats in this series. Everything they hit seems to sound like it's right on the screws.
And we were talking between innings, and not to drop the superlatives here, but can you remember a series where there were this many hard hit balls?
Yeah, even a lot of outs have been hard hit. Justin Morneau has hit a number of baseballs right on the money, but you know the Brewers fortunately have been able to catch him for outs.
Gonzalez had one of those hard hit outs back in the 6th inning. A great catch by Chris Davis, crashing up against the wall. That ball's ripped. That is way back. How far is this one going to fly? My goodness. Off the scoreboard, and just like that, Colorado has a 4-2 lead as Gonzalez hits his first home run of the season.
Yep, on the first pitch, it was down and in. And he got the sweet spot on it and rode it out of here off the scoreboard.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, right down the middle. And he knew it.
There are very few hitters in the big leagues that can hit the ball that far. That is a bomb. Well, the Brewers just clinging to a lead, and it has evaporated. Rockies have scored 4 unanswered. They got one in the 5th. Home run by Dickerson last inning. 2-run homer Gonzalez here in the 8th. Tulowitzki toward the middle. Segura spins and throws him out. Good play.
Yeah, nice play by Gene. He makes that play as well as anybody, going up the middle, turning his back to first, and getting off a strong, accurate throw to first base. Angling back, takes his time and throws a strike over to Adam Lynn.
Two away for Justin Morneau. Carlos Gonzalez, his first homer. He's got 2 hits tonight, could very easily have 3. Colorado in this 3-game series at this point, as we play here in the 8th inning, with 37 combined hits through the 3 games. 9 on the board here tonight. They'll ask if he went. Yes, he did.
Well, you know, when the Rockies are in town, or you go to Colorado, you're going to have to outslug them. I mean, they're going to hit. I mean, it doesn't matter. It used to be they just hit at home, but they hit everywhere now. This is a team that can swing the bats as well as anybody. And the Brewers so far have not been able to get the bats going.
Well, Broxton comes back with a strikeout. 2 Ks in the inning, but a 2-run blast by Cargo, and the Rockies now have the lead.
Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Bottom of the 8th we go. How about Gonzalez coming up with a big 2-run home run last half inning? 4-2 Colorado out in front. Our Marshfield Clinic shining moment offensively clearly has to go to Adam Lind, but we're still searching for offense. 2 runs last night, still just 2 tonight. Still time, though.
Yeah, just getting some opportunities. Can't take advantage of it. So this seems when you're in a little bit of a rut, you got to get guys on base. You got to move them around. Brewers have had some trouble with it.
And we will see Adam Lind batting 3rd in this frame. Gomez to lead off. Top of the order. Brewers live on the way after the ball game, Brian.
All right, thanks, Craig. Adam Ottavino on the pitch. A terrific setup man and a closer in waiting. And he makes quick work of Carlos Gomez. 1 pitch, 1 out to start the 8th.
Yeah, nasty sinker, something on it, mid to upper 90s, and a good slider. 360 earned run average last year. And look at his strikeouts to innings pitched. 5 more strikeouts in innings pitched, only 16 walks.
Ottavino set it up last night for the Hawkins save. Rockies also have John Axford in their bullpen. Jonathan Lucroy 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. He was on base when Lind went deep. That was a 2-out walk by Lucroy in the 3rd inning. Kept the inning alive.
And the one thing Luke doesn't do, he doesn't panic. It doesn't matter if he's 0 for 10 or 10 for 10. He's going to take that same approach up there at the plate. Doesn't worry. Knows he's going to get his hits.
There's that wicked slider by Ottavino in there for strike 2.
And he's got 2. He's got one that he just threw there that goes across. Then he has another one that goes down. Depends on the release point.
A Carlos Gonzalez 2-run home run in the top of this 8th inning has given the Rockies the lead. And it was a blast. Rockies with 2 home runs tonight. Dickerson and Gonzalez. Colorado with 4 home runs in the series. Cargo's hit off the scoreboard up there. Just a dangerous lineup, as good as any in the big leagues, with Gonzalez and Tulowitzki back in it. Lucroy stays alive, fights off that wicked slider. Count remains at 2-2.
Man, that's the thing about the Rockies. It wasn't a bad lineup without them in the lineup last year. Yeah, led the league in batting average, runs scored. You name it. I mean, Gonzalez missed a lot of games. Tulowitzki.
Their supporting cast is starting to emerge as all-star caliber players in their own right. Guys like Dickerson and Arenado. Charlie Blackmon made an all-star team last year.
Yep.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Full count. Well, you get a man on, you get a hot hitting Adam Lind to the plate. Trying to fight your way back tonight and avoid a sweep. And Lucroy in the center. Routine for Blackmon. 2 out. So here comes Adam Lind with 2 away and nobody on at the plate, presented by Wendy's. On base all 3 times tonight. A double in the 1st inning, a 2-run homer in the 3rd. Double was to left center. One hopped out of here, and then the home run was to straightaway center.
One of the few Brewers that the Rockies have had a difficult time getting out. He had 3 hits on opening day, a double and a walk last night, and they haven't been able to get him out tonight.
Aramis Ramirez on deck. Lynn trying to get him a swing here in this 8th inning. Lynn only played 96 games last year for the Blue Jays. Has 4 20-plus homer seasons in his 10 major league seasons, this being the 10th. His best year was in 09 with Toronto. He had 35 homers. He drove in 114. Won the Silver Slugger Award that year. And he draws the walk. Another 4-pitch walk. And a 4-pitch walk back in the 6th. So Lind is aboard, and the tying run coming to the plate. A reminder that this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Brewers, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of the Brewers. Aramis Ramirez with 2 away and a man on.
Nice to attack that first pitch.
Had one to hit, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. He fouls it away.
You see that movement right at the end? Looked pretty good coming in, just dropped off the table. That's that Ottavino sinker.
Just missed. Ball and a strike on Ramirez.
Nick Hundley wondering where that was. I agree. That looked like a pretty good pitch. C.B. Buckner hearing it from that Rockies dugout.
That one's in there. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Aramis. A hitter hoping for a mistake. The way Ottavino throws that slider, if he throws it where he wants it, it's his game. Ball and 2 strikes. Tying run at the plate. 2 outs in the 8th. And on the corner, a called strike 3. Ottavino just carving. So the Brewers come up empty in the 8th, and we go to the 9th. Colorado 4-2.
And Spring Madness 414 is back. Save 50% on tickets for the Brewers weekend matchup against the Pirates this Friday through Sunday. Plus enjoy $4 beers, $1 hot dogs and soda, and $4 nachos all throughout the series. For tickets, visit brewers.com/madness.
Brewers will bring on Jeremy Jeffress here at the 9th inning. Colorado with a 4-2 lead. And while we have a moment here, we want to send out our condolences to our statistician Mike Faulkner. His mother Marie passed away today, and funeral arrangements set up for Saturday. We're thinking about you, Mike, and all of your family. And a tremendous loss as Marie passed earlier today. So our condolences to the Faulkner family.
Yeah, Mike's been with us a long time.
So Jeffress will take over this 9th inning, trying to keep it at a 2-run Brewers deficit. Nolan Arenado will lead off. The hard-throwing Jeffress, down about 20 pounds from a year ago, and he snaps a breaking ball in there for strike 1. It's been a while since Jeffress was on the mound. I think it's 8 days now since his last time out during spring training. A liner on a hop. Jeanette gobbles it up, and Arenado is out. Even the outs are hit well.
Yeah, it's been a long time for K-Rod as well. Brewers need a couple of runs, and got to get K-Rod out there on the mound.
In a safe situation is the best opportunity. Brewers are going to have to come up with some offense in the 9th. LaTroy Hawkins is loosening for Colorado. We saw him last night as well. He earned the save last night, his first of the year. At 42 years of age, the ageless LaTroy Hawkins. Tell you, if he falters at all, the Rockies have a closer ready in Ottavino. That guy looks unhittable right now.
He's got good movement on his fastball going down. Yeah, K-Rod actually pitched yesterday, so forget it.
Now Corey Dickerson had a big homer in the 7th. Brewers were clinging to a 2-1 lead at the time, and on an 0-2 pitch, Dickerson hit a missile off the Toyota territory and right. The 2 home runs were no wall scrapers. Both were drilled. Look at the numbers offensively for the Rockies. And you'd have thought they were in Coors Field this week. 19 runs. They have 37 hits. 16 of those are doubles, and 4 home runs. 2 home runs here tonight.
20 extra base hits.
Dickerson has 2 of the home runs. And a 4 RBI game on opening day as Jeffress strikes him out.
There's a nice breaking ball right there. He's been working on that pitch. Actually started Arenado with a breaking ball. And gets Dickerson on strikes. Look at this one drop off the table. Nice. Well, you know he throws hard. He's got good movement on the fastball. He's able to throw that for strikes and put hitters away with it. Look out.
2 outs for Nick Hundley. To right center field, slicing to Parra. 7-pitch inning for Jeffress, a good one. 1-2-3. The Brewers down 2. Last call. Bottom of the 9th coming up. Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin, presented by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Book your stay now. Brewers are down to their last 3 outs here in the bottom of the 9th. They trail by 2, and they will face the Rockies closer, the former Brewer LaTroy Hawkins, who worked a scoreless inning last night.
Yep, gave up a hit, struck out a batter, and yeah, Hawkins said that this is going to be his final season, the former Brewer. It only took him 12 pitches in last night's ball game to nail down the save number 1 for the season.
Rockies on the verge of sweeping the Brew Crew. Milwaukee's got to find some offense quickly here. Only 4 hits tonight. The only runs coming on a 2-run homer by Adam Lind. Chris Davis, 1 for 2 tonight. Had a single back in the 4th. He walked in the 2nd. Brewers will have Davis, Gerardo Parra, and then Gene Segura. Hawkins still has good velocity, keeps it in the low 90s with some movement, and tough to pick up the baseball off LaTroy Hawkins. He doesn't give you much to see. He turns his back.
Different deliveries, so speed up on you a little bit, slow down. He's got good command. Although it's not often when a team would rather see the closer than the setup guy.
That's the truth. Now the Rockies have a couple of guys, Boone Logan and Ottavino. They are tough to handle. You get the starters. I think that's the idea. You know, Jeff Bridich is the new general manager with the Rockies. He's 37 years of age, a Milwaukee native. Went to high school at Marquette High School. And his plan is to try to develop starters and bring starters in that are ground ball pitchers and bolster that bullpen, get some power in the bullpen. And they have that. Brewers calling out from the dugout, wanting to check the baseball here. Interesting.
Ron Rady's saying that they're digging into the baseball, scuffing it up.
CB Buckner doesn't quite understand. Renicky, you have to go out and explain to him.
Said he's scuffing it up with his fingernail.
Two balls, 2 strikes. And Davis on the ground with the shift on. Tulowitzki for the out. Let's see if we can pick up what Renicky saw. Yeah,
a lot of times a pitcher will do that and put their fingernail into the seams to maybe pop up the seams just a little bit. Not sure if you're allowed to do that or not, but sometimes you put a mark on the baseball, maybe cut the leather, and you get a little bit of extra movement.
Not as if he's trying to hide it either. I think that was Renicky's contention.
Well, and again, I think he's trying to get the seams up a little bit so we get better grip on the baseball.
Another. It's not a quick pitch. It's just a fast delivery. There's no pause from Hawkins. That's something he did in Milwaukee.
What do we used to call it? The slide step out of the windup?
Yeah, there's another one. And Parra swings and misses. That's 3 pitches in a row.
It's something to keep a hitter off balance, right? Disruptive timing.
Trying to remember the guy who used to do that with the Brewers.
McClellan,
right. And he was in that bullpen with LaTroy Hawkins. There's another one. And a base hit. Parra goes to the opposite field. So Gerardo Parra gives the Brewers a shot here. Tying run will come to the plate. Parra with his first hit.
That's a nice piece of hitting, not trying to do too much. Knows that the Brewers need a base runner. And Arenado playing even with the bag and over off the line, and he thought he should have had it. Can't catch them all.
Brewers down 2, 1 man out in the 9th. Tying run at the plate. Segura will bat. Jeanette is on deck. And a ground ball right side. Base hit. Back-to-back singles. The Brewers finding holes, and now the stage is set.
And now the long ball.
So Segura reaches on a single. Now Jeanette comes up.
Well, Parra and now Segura going to the opposite field. Segura using that big hole between first and second. Rolls one in the right. Well, Jeanette gets in that bat, and number 8 is on the on-deck circle.
Yeah, Ryan Braun pops out of that dugout. Certainly has been underneath with John Shelby taking swings. That is some kind of presence on deck. Jeanette would love to get him a swing here. He'd love more to hit one out and walk this one off. Two on, 1 out. Brewers down 2. And Hawkins falls behind.
And then they got great speed on the bases. The Rockies outfield very deep. They find the gap. You might be able to tie it with Segura over at first base.
Jeanette's got some pop. He had 9 homers last year. Got the count in his favor. Tying run at first. And Jeanette rolls one through. LeMahieu dives, makes the play. The throw is in time. Wow.
Yeah, something else, aren't they?
Man, what a play.
That's a Gold Glove play at second base.
Jeanette retired. Both runners advance. Heck of a play by DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah, angling back, able to grab it and get the out at first. But both runners advance. A base hit should tie it up.
And the fans cheer as they announce Ryan Braun. A visit from the pitching coach, Steve Foster. Talk a little strategy here with Ryan Braun. Steve Foster has not had to make a trip to the mound this entire series. Things have gone pretty well for Colorado.
Yes, they have. Well, Ryan Braun can get the job done here with just a base hit.
Braun 0 for 2 in the opener. Exited the game with tightness in his side. Out of the starting lineup the last 2 nights. Second and third, 2 outs. Segura representing the tying run with great speed at second. Oh, a big cut. Braun had a healthy swing.
And Hawkins went right after him on the inside corner. Power versus power. 91 miles an hour. Gets it by Braun.
Yeah, Braun wondering how he missed that one. He was right on it, just under it. Watch the little step from Hawkins. Working from the stretch with runners at second and third. High and tight. Ryan Braun in his career, a .308 average as a pinch hitter. He hasn't done a whole lot of it. When he's healthy, he's in the lineup, but he does have a pinch hit homer in his career. 10 of his home runs in his career have come against the Rockies. A long ball here wins it. A base hit should tie it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Hawkins deals. Braun swings and misses right under another one.
Yeah, right down the middle. 93 straight as a string right by him.
And now Braun in a hole. 1-2 the count. Game on the line. Hawkins at 42 years of age. Deals a 1-2, and Braun fouls it away, and he's right on that one as well.
Yeah, that was a mistake right there. Hawkins upset with himself. It was supposed to be inside. He left it out over the plate, and that's the pitch Ryan Braun would like to have back. That's right in his wheelhouse right there. He just missed it. Hundley reaching for it. He was trying to get a pitch on the inside corner.
Braun's got his dad here, Joe, his uncle, some family and friends in the ballpark. He'd love to give him a show right here. Another 2-strike pitch coming. Parra at third. Segura the tying run at second. The 1-2 on the way, and Braun takes it inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Got a base open at first. Certainly did not want to put the potential winning run on. But Hawkins, a wily veteran, you know he's going to battle Braun, especially with Gomez coming up next. Still a lot of fastballs here in this count.
Yeah, Hawkins hadn't thrown a breaking pitch to anybody in this inning.
Brewers are looking for one big swing. Down 2. 2-2 with 2 outs. And Braun chops one over to third. Slow roller. Arenado can't do anything with it. A run comes in on an infield hit. 4-3 Colorado.
Well, they're halfway there. One more. And more importantly, you've got the winning run at first base. Well, Gene Segura not able to advance. He has to go back, which is probably a good idea because Arenado was thinking about making a tag at third. So that's pretty good base running by Segura. No chance at first, no chance at home. The only chance Arenado had was to tag Segura going to third base.
Still representing the tying run. Segura at second. And here is Carlos Gomez. Braun, the winning run at first. Great speed on the bags. Gomez trying to get one into the outfield. Carlos tonight out of the leadoff spot, 0 for 3 with a walk. Had a hit yesterday, had an RBI double, had the first RBI of the season.
Yeah, right down the left field line. You hit one now and the game's over. Good speed out there on the bases.
And Braun, he'll get a huge lead and a huge jump. Morneau is protecting the hole between first and second. So he'll be off to the races. No balls and a strike on Gomez. Carlos to the right side. That's going to sneak through. A base hit. Here comes Segura. And we are tied. The 4th hit of the inning, all singles.
And nothing really hit all that hard, but they've been placed very well. Good approaches. Gomez able to take that one to the opposite field. LeMahieu can't keep it in the infield, and the Brewers tie it up.
Segura scores the 4th run. Carlos Gomez delivers in the clutch.
Well, now's a good time for Johnny Lucroy to break the seal.
Hitless so far this season. 0 for 11. He has been the Brewers' best hitter in spots like this. Runners in scoring position and 2 outs. Got the speedy Braun out at second base. 4-4 game. And Lucroy takes a strike. Rockies have good arms in the outfield. The best thrower of the bunch is in right field, Carlos Gonzalez.
Well, he's deep out in right. Not sure why.
Crowd chanting Lucroy, Luke. The 0-1 pitch. Lucroy touch late. 0-2. Two runs are in. Parra and Segura with back-to-back singles with 1 out. Both score. RBIs from Braun and Gomez. Brewers need one more big hit right here. Otherwise, we go to the 10th. Looks like Frankie Rodriguez will be on the mound if we have a 10th inning. Lucroy down 0-2. Braun with a big lead at second. 1-2. Good spot for your first hit of the year with Braun standing at second. Gomez just window dressing. Lucroy has 3 walk-offs in his career. Had one last year. Here's the 1-2. Outside, up high. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Let's go, Lou!
Two and 2 to Lucroy. Hawkins with a long look, long pause, delivers. Lucroy strikes out to end the inning. Up the ladder he goes with a fastball. The Brewers come back. They get 2 in the bottom of the 9th. Braun and Gomez with the big hits. Carlos ties it up. Extra innings at Miller Park. 4-4 game. We go to is able to scrape one through the hole between first and second to tie this game up. The Brewers get 2 in the bottom of the 9th on 4 hits, all singles. And we are all even up as we go to the 10th. And that means it is time for Francisco Rodriguez, pitching in consecutive games, trying to hold serve here and get the Brewers back to the plate in the bottom of the 10th.
Yeah, it was a 3-up, 3-down ninth for K-Rod in last night's ball game. That included a strikeout. You see his numbers from a year ago. 44 out of 49 in save opportunities and a 3.04 earned run average.
DJ LeMahieu will lead off for Colorado. They'll have a pinch hitter next. Looks like Inoa has moved on deck. And then back to the top of the order. He's trying to get through this 10th without having to face Carlos Gonzalez, Troy Tulowitzki and company. Need a 3-up, 3-down inning to do that. Gonzalez due up 4th. It was his home run that gave the Rockies a 4-2 lead in the 8th. LeMahieu made a great play last inning. Otherwise, the Brewers might have finished things off in the 9th. He took a hit away from Scooter Gennett on a diving stop in the hole. A lot of movement on that pitch. In there for a strike, 2-1.
Yep, 89 miles an hour with the fastball with a little bit of sink. He's got the changeup. He's got the curveball.
Good fastball. Hit the edge. 2-2 the count.
You know, he doesn't have the velocity anymore that he had when he was young, but you know, last year when he was so effective, always seemed to be ahead in the count. 0-2, 1-2, and able to carve up that outside corner.
Change up from Rodriguez. That's his signature pitch. LeMahieu out in front, but able to foul it off.
That change-up grip, that seems like the ball never seems to get the home plate, but LeMahieu able to hang in there.
Francisco signing a 2-year deal. First time he's had a multi-year deal in the last 4 years. Full count. He had signed a multi-year contract with the Mets after his record-setting save season, 62 saves in a year with the Angels, and then ended up in New York for the 09 season. Traded to the Brewers in 2011. Been in the Brewers uniform ever since, minus a trade to the Orioles a couple of seasons ago. LeMahieu sends it to center field, playable for Gomez. And one away. K-Rod retires his first batter faced. One gone for a pinch hitter. Willeen Rosario will come off the bench.
And looking for some power, maybe to drive one into the gap. Had LeMahieu got on, it probably would have been Yanoa to drop down a bunt.
Well, this is quite a weapon to have on the bench for Walt Weiss. Has been their starting catcher, but they have moved on from that idea. Rosario is going to be a bench bat. He'll catch occasionally, rarely probably, and he'll play some first base. No doubt he can hit, though. He's got a lot of power. Buckles his knees with a breaking ball in there for a strike.
Yep, getting ahead strike one with something other than the fastball.
Rosario's nickname is the Baby Bull. An all or nothing swing. Another one. He's buckled him twice. And K-Rod ahead 0-2.
Yeah, that'll slow the bat down. Now you try and get him with a fastball, get that changeup down in the dirt. Another curveball back to back. That one just catching the outside corner.
See what he does with him here. 0-2 pitch. Another curve misses. Rosario burst onto the scene for the Rockies in his rookie year. He made it up to the big leagues in 11, but his rookie year was 2012. Hit 28 homers that year. Finished 4th in the Rookie of the Year voting that season, 2012 in the National League. That was the year Bryce Harper won the award. Hit 28 and 12, hit 21 homers in 13, and a significant dip last year, just 13 home runs. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2-2.
Well, what do you think? Change up time right here?
Might be. The curveball has been an effective pitch, but when Frankie needs an out, it's usually the changeup. He's been doing that for a long time.
And 3 curveballs and a fastball.
He had Lucroy synced up quickly. 2-2. There's the changeup, and Rosario lays off. Now it's full. Like most power hitters, Rosario will strike out a lot. First at bat of the year for Willeen Rosario. In a 4-4 game in the 10th. The payoff in the air, center field. Gomez going back, and this ball is gone. Willeen Rosario gives the Rockies the lead. His first at bat of the season is a home run.
Yeah, and that was the problem for K-Rod last year. Gave up a lot of homers. And Rosario got a fastball out over the plate. Wasn't exactly where K-Rod wanted it. And Rosario let it get to him and drove it on out of here into right center. Wow.
Well, every button that Walt Weiss has pushed in this series has paid off.
And there was no doubt about that one as soon as he hit it.
The extra bases continue for the Rockies. They've hit 3 home runs since the 7th inning. And 5 home runs in this 3-game series. The 21st extra base hit in this series. That tells the story. Some long faces. Charlie Blackmon had a double in the 8th inning. He was aboard when Carlos Gonzalez homered to give the Rockies the lead.
Yeah, just couldn't put him away with that changeup, and Rosario was laying off some breaking pitches down in the dirt. 2 beautiful curveballs to start him out. Just couldn't put him away, then had to come in with a fastball. And
yeah, got him down 0-2.
And left one up in the zone and didn't get the corner enough and rode it out of here.
K-Rod was bitten by the home run ball last year. Allowed 14 home runs last season, but saved 44 for the Brewers. Much better first half than second half last year. Two and 2 to Blackmon. Rockies on top now after the Rosario homer, and there's a swing and a miss. Second out, a strikeout for K-Rod.
Yeah, there's a nice changeup right there, going away from the left-handed batter. Blackman fought off a couple of them, but they couldn't get a piece of this one. Down and away, and Blackman out in front of it.
So 2 men are out. Here is Gonzalez, who has one of the 3 Rockies homers tonight. One and one. Due up in the bottom of the 10th. The Brewers will have Adam Lind lead off. The hot hitting Lind, followed by Ramirez and then Chris Davis. Got some power coming up. Brewers have come back once. They scored 2 in the bottom of the 9th to force extra innings. John Axford, former Brewer closer, will have a chance at a save.
Add some drama to the bottom of the 10th.
Two and two. Gonzalez 2 for 4 tonight. He was robbed of an extra base hit by Chris Davis in the 6th. A catch you'll see all over the highlight reels tonight. Crashing into the wall. Foul ball. Try again. Another 2-2 coming from Rodriguez. Got him. Back-to-back Ks, but a home run by Rosario. A pinch hit home run. First at bat of the year. The baby bull gives the Rockies the lead. And now the Brewers going to try to come back again. They've got a hot bat due up. Adam Lind. He is stroking it well to start the season. Lind with a 2-run home run earlier tonight. We'll start it for the Crew when we continue. And it's 5-4 as we go to the bottom of the 10th inning. And Adam Lind ready to lead off. New pitcher, John Axford, a familiar face.
And not a bad season for Axford. 62 appearances and an earned run average under 4. did have 10 saves as a member of the Indians last year. A .217 opponent batting average, and as usual, more strikeouts and innings pitched. But he's got to pour through the middle of the Brewers batting order here in the 10th.
Well, Adam Lind tonight, he has not been retired. He started with a double, a ground rule double over the head of Charlie Blackmon. That was in the first inning. His next time up, a 2-run homer. First homer of the season for the Brewers. With a bomb to center field. Gave the Brewers a 2-0 lead. And then his last 2 trips to the plate, he has seen 8 pitches, back-to-back 4-pitch walks. And here he is with the Brewers down a run against a former Brewer, John Axford. Axford set the Brewers record for saves in a season. Led the league in 2011 with 46. At 35 for the Brewers in 2012. Traded to St. Louis in 13.
Well, it had a pretty good spring with the Rockies. Did not allow a run the entire spring.
Split time last year with the Indians and the Pirates. No balls, 2 strikes on Adam Lind. And it got him. Axford with a big curveball for out number 1. Made quick work of Adam Lind.
Yeah, fastball. Looked like he took a little off the second pitch and then threw him the curveball down in the zone. This is the pitch that made John Axford a very good closer for the Brewers, but it was also the pitch that he lost for a while and the reason why he struggled as a Brewer later on.
Here's a Ramos Ramirez. It's been a rough couple of weeks for John Axford and his wife Nicole. His 2-year-old son Jameson, while at spring training in Arizona, was bitten by a rattlesnake, and Jameson is still in the hospital. Ax said he is recovering, but it's been a slow process. Very scary moment for the Axfords.
Yeah, no kidding, got bit twice. Doing much better.
1 ball, 1 strike on Ramirez. 1-2.
He still has the velocity. 95 in on the hands of Ramirez.
One gone here in the 10th. Rockies lead 5-4. Ball and 2 strikes on Ramirez in the dirt. 2-2. Chris Davis due up next. Axford did have 10 saves for the Indians last year, but he struggled and was eventually let go by Cleveland. Pirates picked up Axford off waivers. 2-2. Count stays at 2 balls and 2 strikes. See what he has in mind for Ramirez. Ramos hanging tough. Fastball up the middle, but the shift is on. And the second out.
The Rockies have played that shift pretty well in this series. See LeMahieu actually on the shortstop side of the bag, and Ramirez hits it right at him.
So 2 outs for Axford and the Rockies. Here's Chris Davis. Davis with big power, looking for his first homer of the season. Be a good time for it. Chris with 3 hits in this series, has 1 tonight, single and a walk tonight. Both teams will take tomorrow off. Rockies headed back home to Denver. They have their home opener Friday against the Cubs. Brewers bring in the Pirates Friday night. A very impressive offensive series for Colorado. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2-1.
Yeah, Chris Davis, one of the better pure fastball hitters on the Brewers roster, and if he's able to lay off the breaking stuff and get the count in his favor like he has, got a chance to run one out of here.
He's done some of his best work in his brief career in the big leagues in extra innings. And an extra inning home run last April. 2-1 pitch. 2-2 the count. Chased 1. Axford now 32 years of age. Didn't make it to the big leagues until he was 26. Found a new home with the Rockies. Brewers down to their last strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Down a run. And Davis rolls over 1 to third. Arenado scoops it, and that's the ball game. The Brewers get swept by the Rockies. John Axford picks up the save. Willeen Rosario in his first at bat of the year, a pinch hit home run in the 10th. And the Rockies put a whooping on Milwaukee here in this opening series of the season. 5-4 the final. The Rockies with a sweep headed home. The Brewers welcome in the Pirates on Friday night. Time for Brewers Live. Let's send it out to Craig Kashawn. Craig?
All right, Brian Boy, it was a promising night until late. Colorado's bats got hot again as they were the first 2 games of this series. They get the sweep. We'll hear from Ron Renneke, get inside the clubhouse as well, and get you set for that series against the Pirates starting on Friday.